Okay, good morning. So I'm starting the first lecture on RF and microwave engineering. Now, in our day-to-day applications, you have already used different microwave devices and instruments. For example, your handheld mobile phone, Wi-Fi network, Bluetooth, all the radar systems, all are application examples of microwave engineering. Now, if you look at the microwave spectrum, it starts from a few hertz to it can go up even 10 to the power 14, 15 in that range. So we have different names for this. Textbook definition for microwave is 3 gigahertz to 30 gigahertz. But we have some applications like mobile phone band, GSM band at 800, 900 megahertz. So more or less, this band also follows the theory of microwave engineering. Now, visible wavelength, it is also an example of electromagnetic wave. So in general, all these waves, we call them electromagnetic wave. And when they travel in space, electric field, magnetic field, and the direction of propagation, they form a orthogonal coordinate system. And basic theory of electromagnetic wave propagation you have learned under electromagnetic wave engineering. Now, depending on frequency, if I go from left to right, you can see there are several names. So radio waves, microwave, then infrared radiation, visible wavelength, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma rays. For example, all these stars, they emit a wide spectrum of electromagnetic waves. So more or less, it follows black body radiation. So that means where this electromagnetic wave signal will peak, that depends on the surface temperature of these stars. Sun is one example. For sun, surface temperature is approximately 6000 Kelvin, and if I follow black body radiation, then peaks it comes at visible wavelength yellow line. So that's why most of the electromagnetic wave radiation which is coming from the sun, it falls in visible wavelength region, but it is not that sun does not radiate any ultraviolet ray, X-ray, or lower side microwave or radio wave. But the magnitude of radiation compared to visible wavelength, it is much less. So in conclusion, then from all the stars, it can radiate radio wave to gamma ray, all these different frequencies. Now, which component will be higher? It depends on their surface temperatures. Now, let us take some examples from our surroundings. In the room where you are sitting, all we are using some AC voltage source. When you switch on your fan or light, it is connected to your board, and switching on means you are completing the circuit. Now, the moment I press the switch and when the bulb is on, it seems that there is no time lag. Even if the wire length is a few kilometers, we can't see any time lag as such. The reason is actually energy, it follows the wire and it travels at a speed of light, and you know speed of light in free space, it is approximately 2.9999 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Inside wire or inside some medium, it becomes little different, usually slower, but even then it is of the order of 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So while it is traveling a few kilometers, we can't sense any time lag. But actually, it is a electromagnetic wave which is traveling through metal wire. Now, what is the frequency of our line voltage? It is 50 Hertz. So if I calculate the corresponding wavelength, then you know that f into lambda, that is equal to velocity. Velocity, again, we have several terms. You should be knowing those terms like phase velocity, group velocity. Here we are speaking about phase velocity. So you can calculate then what is the corresponding lambda if you know the frequency and the phase velocity. So you take the second example for your mobile phone. How it operates? When you are speaking, then there is a transducer. Your sound wave, it is being transformed into electrical signal inside the phone, and then after signal processing, it goes and we use a component called mixer inside the circuit that we will learn later, that actually shifts the frequency from a few kilohertz to up gigahertz, and then it is transmitted from the phone. It communicates with the base station, and similarly from the opposite side, the signal, it can come from base station to your phone. How? In the form of electromagnetic wave. What is the typical frequency? It can be 800 to 900 megahertz. For our 3G, 4G, mostly we are using 1.8, 1.9 gigahertz. And for your Wi-Fi signal, we are using 2.4 gigahertz. So it falls under microwave frequency spectrum, and it travels in the form of electromagnetic wave through space. So when it travels and follows the properties of any wave, that means it will also follow all the basic characteristics of waves like reflection, refraction, diffraction, interference. So you know all these terms. Here I am giving one more example. This is X-ray, and even though it is electromagnetic wave, its frequency is very high. Otherwise, the properties, it is always determined by Maxwell's laws. Okay, so for all the electromagnetic waves, then we can calculate electric field, magnetic field, or velocity, or their distribution with the help of Maxwell's equations. So most of them you already learned in your electromagnetic wave engineering theory class. Here are some more examples. So if you follow these charts, this is called the band diagram and very commonly used in industries. So we start from L band, it is 1 to 2 gigahertz. Then we have S, C, X, 3 K bands, K under, K and K above, which is also known as KA, Q, V, E, W, F, D, and so on. So we have different types of applications. Now, previously, most of the microwave applications were in the field of space and defense, military applications. But in last 10 to 20 years, it is being also used in consumer market, and we basically have a revolution with the phone. So that's why microwave engineering, it became so important. If you want to design the circuit for a smartphone, then you should have knowledge of microwave engineering. So the only knowledge of basic electronics or analog electronics you have learned, it won't help for circuit design. Similarly, there are other applications like radars. Again, there are different types of radars. We have weather radars. So for day-to-day weather prediction, they use some models, but basic measurement is done by using radars. So later maybe we can spend some time with radars, what are their basic principles, how they work. In military applications, again, radars are widely used. In India, actually, most of the military radars, it works in the L band and X band. Other than that, for space communication, how we are communicating with the satellites or from one satellite to another satellite. So these are all through electromagnetic waves, and they fall mostly within the spectrum of microwave band in general. So typically then L band to K band we call microwave bands. After that, if you calculate what is the wavelength in free space at 30 gigahertz, so 3 into 10 to the power 8 divided by 30 into 10 to the power 9, so it is coming 1 centimeter, right? So above 30 gigahertz, then we call it millimeter wave. Since wavelength in free space, it becomes less than 1 centimeter. So millimeter wave band typically till 300 gigahertz, we call it millimeter wave. Then above millimeter, we have the terahertz band. Now, at present, if you look at different applications, they are mostly concentrated, particularly consumer applications, which we are using in our day-to-day life. It is mostly concentrated below 4 gigahertz. I gave you the example of Wi-Fi at 2.4. In fact, your microwave oven, that also works at 2.4 gigahertz. So after that, all these bands are mostly occupied by the space people and defense people. And in fact, you can't radiate any of these frequencies. It is actually banned all over the world. Intentionally, you can't radiate a, let's say, 7 gigahertz signal or 12.5 gigahertz signal. So if you want to use any particular spectrum, you have to take permission from government. So that you should remember. Now, for the millimeter wave part, we have only one band in use for consumer applications, which is at 77 gigahertz. So this band is used for automobiles radar, collision avoidance radar. So usually in the expensive cars, it is a radar is installed which monitor the car in front or in back, its distance and its velocity, and it is controlled by a microcontroller. Then it will give you a warning sign then when this distance, minimum distance is violated. So it is called a collision avoidance radar, and typically it works at 77 gigahertz. Other than that, right now we don't have any consumer applications in the millimeter wave frequency band. Now people are talking about 5G. Initially, people thought that 60 gigahertz band will be used for 5G, but there are many problems. So finally, they could not actually design the circuit for consumer market at 60 gigahertz, and it did not happen. Now people trying at different frequency bands like 28, 29 gigahertz, some people trying even below 6 gigahertz. Well, we'll speak about how to improve data rate and other things, and what are the parameters typically we have to consider if I want to improve the data rate. One straightforward thing is that you have to increase the carrier frequency. If I want to increase data rate, I need more bandwidth. So it is possible only if I go above in frequency scale. Well, so more or less these are the applications. Now you have to collect this book. Online version is also available. Microwave Engineering by DM Pojar. 90% of material is from DM Pojar, whatever I am going to cover in this semester. And any version you can use, even though I have mentioned here 2012, a later version is also available, but it is fine with any of the versions. Now, coming to evaluation, you already know that in this semester, we will not be having any mid-sem or end-sem examination. So you will be under continuous evaluation. Now, how we are planning that, we will be arranging regular MCQ test. We will be giving you regular assignment. Sometimes we will use MS Teams to do that. Sometimes we will be using Moodle to do that. Because this MS Team, it is new to all of us. We are not sure how much we can do using MS Team, but Moodles we already used. So after 1-2 tests or assignment, then we will finalize which one is better for us, Moodle or MS Team. Anyway, so this MCQ test or assignment, then it is becoming a very important part for the evaluation process. And here we have an option that we can monitor you online in MS Team. So how many of you are attending the class, how long you are attending, we will also keep a track of that. So a percentage of marks will also come from your attendance. And let's see if we, at the end, if we can arrange Viva, then we can meet face-to-face online. Well, one group already started your lab class. Tomorrow again, we have one more class. So then maybe we'll discuss about the lab. Anyway, we have to go online for all the labs. So that is really a problem, particularly for the hardware-based experiments. Well, then coming back to again our topic, you already attended circuit theory. There you learn three basic theorems: Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's current law, and voltage law, KCL and KVL. And you use these three laws to analyze all the circuits for your analog circuit and basic electronics class. But then why do we need another theorem, another set of laws to learn to analyze circuits? So first of all, this KCL and KVL, it won't work directly here. The main problem, it comes because of the phase delay or time delay. And the second thing is that current and voltage definition. So when you are applying KCL or KVL, you are using the concept of current and the concept of voltage. We will see later that in some cases we can't define current or we can't define voltage. So if I can't define current or if I can't define voltage, then how I will be applying KCL or KVL? So it is not a generalized thing. Then the second problem, it comes from time delay. let us go back that switching example. When you switch on your bulb, so physically we can't sense any time delay, but even it is electromagnetic wave, it takes a finite time from switch to your bulb, and that time with respect to time period, if it is very small, then we can simply neglect it. But if it is not small, we can't neglect it. So what is time period? It is 1 by f. So that means if I go up in frequency scale, then time period it decreases, and this delay it becomes an important part, important parameter which we can't neglect anymore. Time delay also you can represent in terms of phase delay. So you know the relationship theta equal to omega t. So you can calculate then what is the corresponding change in phase theta if you know the time delay delta t and the frequency. So it is becoming twice pi f into delta t. That will give you the phase delay because of this time lag. So here I am giving one example from circuit. Left side we have a voltage divider. I connected 12-volt voltage source to 1 kilo ohm load combination. When I switch on, it takes some time to stabilize the current. Since we are dealing with DC, we don't care about this time, and you can easily calculate what is the output voltage by applying KVL. Now, what about AC source? Let's say we are connecting a function generator now, which is generating a 50 hertz signal. Amplitude is given as 12 volt. We use the same voltage divider. So again, you can calculate what is the output voltage. Now here, you did not consider what is the time delay between source to the load. When I am switching on, then from source, it starts, the electromagnetic wave starts propagating, and it takes finite time to reach your load. That time is so small for a 50 hertz signal, we simply neglect it. Okay, but if the frequency is very high, let's say instead of 50 hertz, now I am using a 5 gigahertz source. So in that case, can we neglect it? So it is better if we, if I give you example in terms of wavelength. Let us first consider free space wavelength only. In your basic electronics lab and analog circuit lab, you have used breadboards. And if you remember, I am also showing here one photograph of breadboard. You use different discrete components like capacitor, resistor, inductor, and some ICs, 741, for example, 555. And how did you connect it? By using wires. What are the typical length of this wire? Maybe a few centimeter to tens of centimeter maximum. Now, let us calculate the wavelength. Okay, let's say we have a signal, frequency 10 gigahertz. Then in free space, wavelength is 3 centimeter. But you remember that here we are using wire, and we are forcing the electromagnetic wave to travel through the wire. So in that case, wavelength is different. Actually, it will be smaller. It is the free space wavelength, 3 centimeter. Let us go ahead with this free space concept. So 3 centimeter, one full wavelength, then from phase, it is 360 degree, right? If I plot a sine omega t curve with respect to theta, then one wavelength it occupies 360 degree. So that means in space, if I move by 1 centimeter, it is giving you 120 degree of phase error. That is huge. We can't neglect it. Even if I consider 1 gigahertz signal, 1 centimeter in space, that corresponds to 12 degree change. That is also huge. So how I am commenting that 10 degree, 12 degree, 120 degree, that is huge. Let us go back to breadboard example. So in the breadboard example, intentionally you sometimes use some components for phase shifting. Resistor, for resistor current and voltage, it is in same phase. So resistor is not the component which is giving you the phase shift. Where you are just using for connections, that is also you are assuming not giving any phase shift. Then what are the components giving you the phase shift? That is capacitor and inductor. So you recall from circuit theory, both of them giving you 90 degree phase shift, and for one case it is leading, or one case it is lagging. And this is the reason, because of this capacitive or inductive reactance, we have an imaginary part in the impedance. So R plus or minus Jx. So this X part is giving you the phase. So both are related. You have to calculate it anyway. So you see, then for 90 degree, you have to use a component. So if I introduce now, if we have, let's say, RC circuit, then the phase will be less than 90 degree. And you know, from tan inverse formula, you can calculate what is the change in phase. So in conclusion, in some of the applications for matching purpose or for other purpose, sometimes we just deal with a few degree of phase change, and a few degree of phase change, sometimes it becomes huge. So we can use the wire till that point when this phase delay due to electromagnetic wave propagation. Don't be confused with the discrete components. Phase change due to electromagnetic wave propagation, it is less than, let's say, much less than 1 degree, we can simply neglect this effect. So one example I gave you, that at 1 gigahertz or 10 gigahertz, you can't neglect this effect. Now, if I go down to 1 kilohertz, it's 10 to the power 3 compared to 10 to the power 9. So change will be less by a factor of 10 to the power 6. I can neglect the phase change due to 10 centimeter wire. So that's why you might have noticed in your analog circuit lab or basic electronics lab, you never went above a few hundred megahertz. Maximum frequency you used, I think, 3 or 10 megahertz, not above that. Because if you go beyond 10 megahertz or a few hundred megahertz, your concept using KCL and KVL, it won't work anymore. You can't use them. You need a new set of theories to explain this phenomenon. So that is actually Maxwell's equations. Okay, so till this point, what I tried to explain you, that you can use wires for connection at low frequency, but the same concept you can't use at higher frequency, and the problem start from a few hundred megahertz and beyond. If you go up in frequency scale, this problem it will be much worse, and you don't have any other option. You have to learn Maxwell's equation if you want to design a high frequency circuit. Then how we describe the circuit performance and other things? If we can't use current or voltage, we use the terms electric field, magnetic field. In some cases, I will show that still we can use the concept of current or voltage, but that is just in some limited case. In general, then, we will be describing them in terms of electric field and magnetic field. Other than that, we have two more parameters. One is the phase constant represented by beta. Phase problem I discussed, so we have to take into account this phase and we represented it by beta, and the second parameter comes, it is the attenuation constant alpha. Now, why we need this attenuation constant? Why it is not like a low frequency circuit? So when you design this circuit, let's say for this wiring correction, you did not consider any loss. In fact, if I consider what is the resistance of a 10 centimeter long wire, it will be less than 0.1 ohm. If it is less than 0.1 ohm, I am using of the order of a few hundred to kilo ohm range resistor. So it's nothing, we neglected it. But here you can't. Well, what is the reason? Again, you already learned it. Skin depth. We will spend some time on it later. So for now, when we send alternating current or alternating signal, better to say, through a metal wire. Now let's say we are taking a cross section of the wire and investigating how it looks, the current distribution over the cross section. I am showing here by using this circular diameter. You can see red in color. So you see, mostly current is confined on the surface. If you go inside along radius, it decreases exponentially. Now, how fast it will decrease, that depends on the frequency of the signal and its conductivity. So the depth at which the current value becomes 1 by E times of the surface value, we call it skin depth. I'm giving you some example here. At 50 hertz, skin depth is 8.5 millimeter. Most of the wires you used, diameter was 1 millimeter or less. So current was uniform at 50 hertz. At 10 kilohertz, it is 660 micrometer, so 0.66 millimeter. So again, current distribution, if I take, let's say, 1 millimeter or less than that, more or less it is uniform, but the problem starts. If I go to megahertz, we face problem due to skin depth, and gigahertz, you see, it is in micrometer. At 10 gigahertz, it is 0.66 micrometer for copper. What that means? What is the problem we'll be facing? So it comes from simple Ohm's law. So if I can't utilize the whole metal for wave propagation, then resistance will be very high. Basically, I am using the outer, like a very thin film-like structure for electromagnetic wave propagation. So that's why wave will be highly attenuated. In fact, so this semester, unfortunately, you are unable to visit microwave lab, we can't use simple metal wire like this for electromagnetic wave propagation at gigahertz frequencies. The structure is completely different. It is not like this. So remember then, one more important point. The cables or wire we use at low frequency, kilohertz or 50 hertz signal, we can't use at gigahertz frequencies because of this problem just now I discussed. So what are the alternatives, or what type of guiding structure we'll be using? Mostly we use different types of dielectric materials for electromagnetic wave propagation. So dielectric materials, conductivity is almost zero, no sigma ideally. So mostly dielectric materials, and we always try to avoid metal, but still I will be showing you some configuration. There will be metal, that is just to bound the electromagnetic wave. That is very important. Well, one more thing, lumped components or discrete components. So these resistors, capacitors, or these ICs which you used at kilohertz frequencies, can we use them at gigahertz frequencies? No, we can't. Well, let me give one example. Let's say the resistor. What is the property I'm expecting from resistor? It will give you a finite R for which voltage and current will be in same phase. And when I send some signal through the resistor, then there will be some power dissipation, joule heating. And that's why we are going to use the resistor for these properties. Now, what are the problems we'll be facing if I use this resistor, whatever I am showing in this picture, at gigahertz frequencies? Consider the size. So size is an issue. If I introduce now gigahertz signal, so phase delay will come and a resistor won't be a resistor. Other problems, parasitics. You have learned that any metal structure, it has self capacitance and self inductance. So look at the lead of this capacitor, how it looks. It's a wire. So this wire will have finite inductance, and if I bend it, inductance will further increase. Now, what are the typical inductance value? It is in nanohenry. So if it is in nanohenry, 10 to the power minus 9, then at low frequency kilohertz or even at 1 megahertz, we don't face any problem. But if I go up to gigahertz, you have to multiply now. It is j omega L. So you have to multiply by 10 to the power 9. We are speaking about gigahertz. So even if your nanohenry inductor is huge, it will give you a very high reactance at gigahertz frequency. So we can't use a discrete component which is associated with a few nanohenry of inductance. So the R is not simply a R anymore. We have a problem because of the lead. Similarly, we have also problem because of its packaging. We have some parasitic capacitance as well, which is in picofarad range. So because of these things, then we can't use these discrete components at gigahertz frequencies. Well, so from these discussions till this point, what are the problems? So we discussed mostly 2 points: phase problem and the attenuation problem. So when we are going to design any circuit, so what type of guiding structure I should use, that will be decided depending on these two basic parameters, criteria on these two basic parameters, phase and attenuation. Well, before coming to the next part, let us take some questions. So please type your questions if you have. Sorry. Yeah, so we have a question here. Is a phase delay due to the EM wave as well as parasitics? Yes. Because of parasitics, we have a phase delay, and better to say not just because of EM wave, because 50 Hz signal is also EM wave. And because of your high frequency, since the size, it is becoming comparable to lambda. That's why now we have to consider the phase delay. Skin depth standard formula already you learned, so I will be showing it again in next class. We have a standard formula for skin depth, just you have to put the values there. Well, module registration, you can directly write to module, and you are supposed to have one account in module. You never appear for any test or anything under module for any of the subjects till now. Then you already should have. Yeah, one more interesting question for small ICs. I'm going to cover this part because till now I discussed about the problems only. What are the solutions? What we are using them? I did not start that part. After this, I'll be starting. We are still unable to register to RF and microwave engineering. Well, after this lecture, I'll be sending the link once more, but I have seen that most of the students already registered. Only I think a few are left. Okay, if there is no more questions, so we'll take 5 minutes break. After 5 minutes, again we are going to start. So I am stopping recording for now.